Family, it is an honor and a privilege to be here with you and to stand here as the representative of the board of directors, of the member sites, of the staff, of all of those who are connected to our consortium. I'm going to say it one time, the longest name for any black organization in the history of humanity, the Alabama African American Civil Rights Heritage Sites Consortium. The consortium had a very easy decision to make when we approached the prospect of the nomination for the Andrus Service Award for AARP. And we are so thankful to be able to be here with the AARP, with their leadership, to be here within this space, thanks to Alabama Power and all of the safety precautions that we have been given. And to gather together to talk about a couple, to talk about a team, to talk about a dynamic duo. It is quite easy. I would say that Ray Charles in the grave can see the power, the connection, the commitment, the love that has been generated by Ted and LaJoyce Devereaux over many, many, many decades. I have benefited personally. They are my sister and my brother. They are my friends. They are my colleagues. They are my mentors. And they've done so much for me and so much for our consortium, and I'm going to say a little bit about that. But before I say that, because I know that they have done so much for so many others, I also want to thank the family. I want to thank the family of Ted and LaJoyce Devereaux for sharing them with us. You know them as mama and daddy, as grandmother, grandfather, as auntie, as uncle, as in-laws, as relations tied by blood and by marriage, and they have loved you and served you, but I thank you because you have shared them so much of their time, whether it be before they retired or after they retired, when we think that you're supposed to be able to relax and rest and slow down and just play with grandchildren, but you have shared them with us. So I want to, as we give our applause for Ted and LaJoyce, I want us to also give a round of applause for all of the family members gathered here today and those who will be gathering this weekend, thanking them for sharing them with the state of Alabama, sharing them with the states of Mississippi and Georgia and beyond, for sharing them with all of us. Can we give a round of applause for the family? Thank you. Thank you. Because there are measurable ways in which the Devereaux have sown in and have invested as truly what can be called servants. And I have to say to our leaders of the AARP, as I looked at preparing the nomination on behalf of our consortium, and there are 20 different sites. We are in Birmingham, we are in Selma in the Black Belt, we're in Montgomery, we're across the state of Alabama. But as I looked at this nomination form, it wasn't easy for me to complete it, though it was easy for me to know who it is that we should nominate. It's a long nomination form. It was 14, 15 pages, and I was in the midst of multiple deadlines as I was needing to get this submitted on time. And I talked to one of my daughters who is maybe a cross between a Generation Z and a millennial, a zillennial. And she said, well, Daddy, you got ChatGPT. You can just put all these questions in, and they'll give you all of the answers. And I had never tried this thing. I have a measured suspicion for all AI and I believe in Skynet and the Terminator and things are going to come and not going to work out well. But I said, okay, I have a lot to do with this nomination form. So I began to give her some information so she could feed it into the system so we could begin to generate some responses to some of the questions about their volunteer service. And then I got the results back and I was looking at it and I said, I can't use any of this. I'm a preacher, but this is too flowery. And the thing that really hung me up though was the volunteer piece. And let me say this, I respect volunteers. We should respect volunteers. Volunteers contribute billions of dollars of resources and labor into our economy. There are so many organizations and endeavors that would completely collapse were it not for the support of volunteers of the kinds that you have in AARP here today, of the kinds who continue to work after they retire from their jobs. But when I thought about the Debros and when I looked at what the Debros did and when I considered the way that they have served, I considered how they have taught and how they have combined. What you have here is you have art and science. This is the way I see it. I see the artist in the Mr. I see the scientist in the Mrs. that blend together in this beautiful way that allows them not only to understand the nature of problems, but the artistic and creative and scientific and strategic ways of solving.
Preach.
That's the combination that is that y'all? Is that them? Family? Is that them? But it's not just art and science. And it's not just volunteer. It's not just volunteer. The traditional definition of volunteer is someone who works without being paid for it. And that's a part of the criteria in the nomination form. We needed to look at specific things that they had done after their quote retirement that they weren't doing for a fee or whatever else. But I had a challenge with that definition because a volunteer is often described as someone who not only works without being paid, but it's also somebody who can decide when they're going to do it and then quit when they want to quit. We know we have volunteers. We say, I'm not even getting paid for this. I don't have to do this. You decide when you're going to start. You decide when you're going to stop. I don't see that with the Devils. I don't see volunteers in the classical sense of the word. As I prepared this application for nomination, I saw people who were servants in the tradition of the Andrus Service Award. Those who didn't just decide when they were going to start and when they were going to stop. People, a couple, a team, a duo that committed to this work because they were called to do it. Because they were sent to do it by something that was greater than them and that they had to use all of the skills and all of the training and all of the resources that they had acquired, whether it be in academia, whether it be in the nonprofit world, that they had to use those things. They had to use those things. Because this is why they were sent into the world. When I began to prepare this application, I said, this didn't just start in retirement. God was at work in this when they were in Morehouse and Spelman. God put them together at that time after that swim meet. God put them together that first day. God put them together when they were putting them on a bus and they were going back and forth to Mississippi. God put them together. God already knew before that there was something greater that they were going to do together in service of community, in service of family, and that this isn't simply talk. There are measurable ways. I tried to do the math. I got to about 12 million, and I had to stop. When I looked at churches in Alabama, when I looked at organizations committed to preservation and the protection of structures and authentic stories and building upon legacies in Alabama, throughout the consortium, in Georgia, in Mississippi, wherever it is that they were called and sent, they showed up. But they also got paid for it, but not in the ways that we typically tend to think. They certainly didn't get a percentage of the 12 million, did they? Y'all got something to give me away to know about it. But they were paid with hope. And we're in a season of the Advent as we're looking forward. But they were paid with this hope that when we do what we're supposed to do, when we answer the way we're called, then what we're going to do is we're going to be able to have hope that in the next generation, whether it be with our children or our grandchildren, whether it be in other sites, whether it be back in Mississippi, whether it be in churches in Georgia, there is hope that this will continue beyond the length and breadth and depth of our work, and we'll keep it moving. As Curtis Mayfield said, we'll keep on keeping on. I believe it gives them a sense of peace that all of this work that they have done is not for nothing. All of these hours, all of this sacrifice, all of this commitment, this peace that Scripture says surpasses all understanding is something that they can hold on to. But peace is not just being still, but peace is about being in a right relationship. They can say, I did what I was supposed to do. We did what we were supposed to do. It doesn't mean it is perfect. Those of us who are married know that within every relationship there are challenges, there are difficulties, there are contradictions. But when you can have a peace that brings you into right relationship with one another and with community and with God, that is a payment that is beyond anything that could appear with zeros on a check. I also suspect as I begin to wrap up with these last two that they have joy. That they don't do this begrudgingly. Half the time when I hear Ted talk to me, it seems like he's singing. Moves into everything with a sense of joy and happiness. I look at them just smile at each other. I look at them answer one another's questions, and it's infectious and it's contagious, and they pass it on to all of those who serve in the Historic Interpretation Center at 16th Street. All of those who are connected to them. When you walk away from the death rows, you feel better and you want to do better. And they do it because they love us. And love isn't just a second-hand emotion. Love isn't just a syrupy, sweet feeling. The love that the Debros have for us, for Alabama, for 16th Street, for the consortium, for our churches that are seeking to preserve their legacy and their history and connection to a freedom struggle, that love is a love which is defined by commitment and action. They love us, and we love them. So it was easy, and it is indeed an honor and a privilege to be able to say that the consortium presented this team, this couple, this duo, for nomination as recognition as servant leaders, as volunteers to the highest power in the AARP Andrus Service Award. And we love to do it. We're thankful for having the opportunity and the honor and the privilege of doing it. And we are so thankful that all of you today gathered together in this season to bear witness to the great work that God has done, is doing, and I am sure will continue to do, whether it be through the death rows or through all of those of us who they have touched, they have raised, they have shaped, they have guided, they have led, they have encouraged, they have inspired, they have mentored, they have challenged, they have checked, they have corrected, they have loved. Thank you, LaJoyce. Thank you, Ted. We love you.
wants to talk? Who wants to talk?